Hello again, welcome back to the channel, glad you could join me. Today I wanted to talk about Fer De Lance by Rex Stout. It's been a while since I've talked about a Rex Stout novel. This is actually the first Nero Wolfe mystery novel by Rex Stout. And I don't hesitate to say that Rex Stout really did change quite a bit about how detective stories are written in the 20th century and now the 21st century. So this being the first book in the series, we are introduced to a lot of characters. We get introduced to Nero Wolfe, who is the main detective in this series of novels, and his right-hand man, Archie Goodwin. Archie it basically does all the grunt work, if you will, for Nero Wolfe. Nero Wolfe is a big fat guy that does not, under any circumstances, like to leave his house. He has come to enjoy his luxuries, and he wants in no way to impede himself from enjoying those luxuries. Some of the things about Nero Wolfe, as I said, he's a very large man. He doesn't like to leave his house. He's the brains of the operation. Now, I believe in this series that I've been talking about, books and things, that I've talked about the Garrett P.I. novel series by Glenn Cook. That was very, very heavily influenced by the Nero Wolfe novels. Nero Wolfe, his Rex Stout's writing has really influenced a lot of detective novels up to today. Not just detective novels, but television. There was a show back in the 80s called Jake and the Fat Man that's basically like this. Anyway, at the opening of the novel, Nero Wolfe is actually trying to decide on his brand of beer. He likes beer. It's his favorite thing to drink. And he also has an orchid garden that's on the roof, basically on the roof of his home, and he has a set schedule. He goes up to the orchid room at a certain time. He comes down at a certain time. He conducts business on this schedule. And woe be to the person who interrupts his schedule for something that he deems should not be interrupting his schedule at this time. As I said, we are introduced to a lot of characters here because it's the first book in the series. Archie is sent out on errands for Wolfe. He's the one that Wolfe, as I said, Wolfe doesn't leave, so he has Archie go and do the legwork. He also has several other associates whom he hires from time to time, one of them being Fred Durkin. Now, Fred Durkin comes to Wolfe as he's trying some new beers. This was set during the Great Depression time in the United States. And and just at the end of the Prohibition era of the United States. So Wolfe is actually trying beers so that he can start buying a legal beer rather than bootleg beer. Anyway, Fred Durkin shows up and says, "I'd like you to talk to this lady, Maria Maffei. She's a friend of my wife's, and her brother Carlo is missing." So he says, "Sure, whatever." He talks to Maria. He's not really interested in the case. And that's one of the things about Nero Wolfe. If your case doesn't interest him, he's not going to take it. However, in this situation, he does need the money, and so he decides to get in and investigate. This investigation leads Archie to a man named Anna Fiore. Now, Anna lived at the same boarding house, and she listened in on a telephone call that Carlo received shortly before he disappeared. And Wolf learns that Carlo had clipped a newspaper cutting, a newspaper article, and it talked about the death of one Peter Oliver Barstow. Peter Oliver Barstow was the president of a college. He was out playing golf, and he suddenly died. And they attributed it to heart attack. However, they soon find Carlo's body. He's found dead in the countryside, stabbed in the back. Nero Wolfe deduces that maybe the death of Barstow is not as innocent as it seems. And he speculates that one of the golf clubs that Barstow was using may have been tampered with. And it's set up to fire a poisoned needle into the victim. The police exhume the body, do the autopsy, and find out, indeed, Nero Wolfe was correct, that Barstow didn't die from natural causes, that he actually died from poison. So they start investigating Barstow and his associates, his family, and the people that are staying with him, that had been golfing with him at the time, which leads them to Edie Kimball and his son Manuel, as well as the Barstow family. So they were all there. And it's deduced that Carlo had modified the golf club. He'd been paid to turn the golf club into this lethal weapon. Now, this is where we get to the Fer De Lance. Fer De Lance is a French term. It means spearhead, and it refers to a type of venomous viper. No, it wasn't that type of poison that killed him. What happens is the murderer, as Nero Wolfe and Archie are getting closer to finding out who committed the deed, plants this particular type of snake in Nero Wolfe's desk. And so that's why it's called Fer De Lance. If I remember right, I read that it had a different name. No, it must have been a different one. Yeah, some of these novels had different names based on where they were released. Anyway, so that's basically the story there. The one murder of Carlo, the first murder, leads to Nero Wolfe uncovering a second murder and then investigating that murder. Personally, I think I may have called this novel something else, since the snake is only in it for one quick scene and then it's gone. It's not like it was a recurring theme. Sorry about that. Anyway, I really like the Rex Stout Nero Wolfe mysteries. I like Archie's character. Nero Wolfe is a very interesting portrait of a character. The fact that he has his idiosyncrasies, he has his likes and dislikes that basically everyone knows. Everyone who knows Nero Wolfe knows he likes beer, knows he's an avid orchid enthusiast. Everyone knows that Nero Wolfe never leaves his house. They paint quite a picture of a detective for the audience. It's quite entertaining. And then we have Archie, who's very much a contrast. Not necessarily contrast night and day kind of thing. They both have things that they have in common, obviously, but Archie is much more outgoing, much more willing to do the legwork. He leaves the house. He's a bit of a ladies' man. He is popular with people. People like Archie. Nero Wolfe, he tends to rub people the wrong way. And he doesn't care. So, as I said, I like the dynamic between the two characters. There are some interesting anachronisms in that end up popping it up in the series because of the first book. One of the things that was pointed out to me as I was doing some research for this particular video, one of Nero Wolfe's associates, his name is Ori Cather. He's a veteran detective who chews tobacco in this novel. In all the subsequent novels, he's younger, and he's a ladies' man, and he doesn't chew tobacco. Doesn't have any tobacco habit. So it's evident that in writing this first one, and in going into subsequent books, that Rex Stout was still kind of feeling out how he wanted to do things with this particular series. Anyway, that's it for today. Let me know if you've read any of the Nero Wolfe novels. There's also a pretty good Nero Wolfe television series. It features Mari. I'm trying to remember. It has Timothy Hutton in. He plays Archie Goodwin. And let's see. Yeah, Timothy Hutton and Mari Chaikin, I think is how you say that. I could be wrong. They both did an excellent job in that particular series. Highly entertaining. Let me know if you've watched it. That's it for today. Like, share, subscribe, all that other stuff. And until next time, enjoy what you're reading.